name is Shai. I'm the head of publishing here at CrazyLabs. I manage the publishing team that works with studios from all around the world to test and launch their hyper-casual prototypes. And today I want to talk about hyper-casual in 2022. Now, for those who don't know, CrazyLabs, so CrazyLabs is a top developer and publisher. We've actually just crossed the 5 billion downloads milestone, which is an amazing milestone for us. I've put here some of the games that we've launched over time, and you can see that some of them here actually they have the 100 million icon that shows the success. And moving forward, I want to talk about how we look at 2022. But in order to understand, how do we see 2022, it's important to look back. And here you can see the mobile growth year over year from 2018 until 2021. And as you can see, obviously, the number of downloads for the mobile industry grew year over year. As you can see, 2021 had a bit of a smaller growth. But when you dive into the genres themselves, you can see here that actually hyper-casual was the only genre that grew significantly as well in 2021 compared to other genres. Now, if you look at the subgenres here, as we see, obviously there is a big astronomical rise in the hyper-casual, but we're looking at the subgenres themselves. You can see that action hyper-casual and puzzle hyper-casual and even simulation here were the top subgenres that grew. And obviously we saw that here at CrazyLabs, and we're seeing that as we speak now. Games like Multimaze 3D and Sculpture People and Phone Case and many others that are matching these subgenres are booming. And of course, we are seeing that today as well. So are we expecting another hyper growth to hyper casual? And in order to answer that, I think we first need to learn what do we expect in 2022 and how do we see things moving forward. Now, obviously, here are the KPIs that we've tracked in 2021, and I wanted to talk about them briefly and then discuss them a bit detailed in this presentation. Now, obviously, the first thing would be CPI, and this is the most basic thing that you need to do in order to understand if your game is marketable, if it has the potential to become a hyper-casual hit. And until now, obviously, everyone tested their games on Facebook, but we know, and we've already started it and continue to do that, test your games on other platforms like TikTok and Snap. And we're going to see why this is so critical. The next will be the day one, the retention test. But today we know that day one, measuring only day one during that test is not good enough. And you have to measure the usage, the number of minutes in the first 24 hours. This is a big game changer. And it helps you predict the success, and it helps you understand which problems you need to solve and what to focus on. And again, we're going to see why this is a big changer and why this is extremely critical in 2022. Now, this is the process of a standard hyper-casual publishing, and this is how we work here at CrazyLabs. So obviously, the first thing that you need to have is a pitch, a concept, an idea that needs to be approved. Once you have a concept that is approved, you need to move to the CPI phase. Once you reach those KPIs, move to the day one and the usage phase. Moving forward, you need to measure the ROI and how profitable your game is. Once you meet that, you move to the scale and fully release your game. So if we look at 2022, I think the biggest and most important thing would be transparency. And what do I mean by transparency? When you test your game with a partner, when you test your game with a publisher, you have to be able to see the process very transparent. Here is an example, during the CPI test. And this is, by the way, a screenshot from Click Dashboard, where you'll be able to see all of the data during the test fully transparent. What does it mean? We've said you need to test your game not only on Facebook, you need to test it on other platforms. You need to see this data and you need to understand how to take actionable insight from that. Now, we mentioned that previously everyone tested the games only on Facebook. And we know today that Facebook is not the only platform that you need to test your games on. Imagine that you have a game that maybe it's based on a trend. Maybe this trend is mostly available on TikTok or maybe other platforms. So testing on your game on Facebook gives you less opportunity to really capture the audience. By the way, we know that today TikTok has 40% unique players, unique users that don't exist on other platforms like Facebook and others. So this is why it's extremely important, to test your games on other platforms, not only Facebook. And we can see that, for example, games that have, not great CPI on Facebook, but they have really good CPI on TikTok. If you didn't test your games on other platforms, there is a big chance you would kill games that can be profitable, that are marketable, and this is why it's extremely important to do that. Moving forward to day one and the usage test, and we mentioned why day one and usage is extremely important. Take a scenario where you have decent retention, let's say around 25-27% day one retention, but you have really good usage. You have good playtime in the first 24 hours. If you didn't capture that, you didn't know that you have 20 or 30 minutes usage in the first 24 hours. And what does it mean to you as a developer? You have good core, your core gameplay loop is good. Players want to play it, but you didn't know that the only thing that you need to do now is simply give them a reason to come back and play again after they install the game. Now, this is not the only thing. There is a lot of data that you need to use in order to understand how to prototype and how to create a good game that meets the KPIs of day one and usage. And I like to take the analogy of I'm driving a car and I need to get somewhere, but I'm blindfolded. How can I drive the car and get to where I need to if I can't see the road? And this is exactly what you need to do here. When you create a game, you need to be able to see all of the data. You need to be able to see the road, where you need to do and what you need to do now. And things like the level funnel, the fail rate, which means how many players fail in each level, how many of them started, how many of them fail, and many others. This data is extremely important in today's very competitive market. And we're advancing, the hyper-casual market is growing, and this is one of the things that is growing together. And you as a studio, you must have this data. You must have the ability to see this data with transparency on the dashboard that you're testing your game with, in order to understand what to do next, what to focus on, what's good in your game, what's not good in your game, what you need to improve there in order to successfully launch your game. Now, I've put here a few examples of why usage is such a big game changer. And I think this is important. I really want to stress how critical this can be in order to help you guide through the funnel itself. Now, take a look at Multimaze 3D, for example. This game had 59 minutes usage in the first 24 hours. Now, of course, this is a no-brainer. 59 minutes usage in the first 24 hours. You have gold here. You know exactly what you need to do. You need to continue in the publishing process. But taking a look at Epic Hero and String Pool. So these games, Epic Hero had just over 20 minutes usage. String Pool just a little less than 20 minutes usage. Imagine that you have 3 prototypes, and 3 of them have rather similar retention, day one retention, but one of them has 20 minutes usage in the first 24 hours, and the rest have lower usage. Now you know exactly what you need to focus on. You know exactly that this specific game pops up, and this is the game that you need to focus on and put more efforts on, while maybe others that have the same kind of retention but lower usage, you need to improve something there. Maybe you need to work on the core gameplay loop. You need to improve the level funnel moving forward. But this is why the usage, the playtime in the first 24 hours is so critical for you as a studio in order to focus yourself on what's important. Now, everything that I've discussed here, comes together with the communication with your publishing manager, because the daily communication and the partnership with your publishing manager will help you gather all of this data, brainstorm around it, analyze it, and take actionable insights about what you need to do next. Imagine that the publisher has a lot of data. They do a lot of tests. We have a bird's eye view of the whole market. And when you take the communication and the transparency and the dashboard and all of the market overview that the publisher has, and you're able to do that, this brings you to another place where you have a better chance to prototype your game and successfully launch it. Now, taking that with a monthly trend report that you'll be able to access. For example, the screenshots that you have here, these are real screenshots from January market trend report that is available to our Click dashboard members. And we share that with them and discuss this with them to understand, what kind of prototypes you have better chance to get lower CPI. Where do we see the market today? How do you analyze the market today? And as I said, 2022 is very competitive. We see the market. We see that it's growing. We see that it's maturing. You have to adapt in order to prototype better. And all of this together, the transparency, the data, the communication, the reports, everything that you have here will be able to help you make data-driven decisions together. You as a studio with your publishing manager, fully transparent. One more thing, that I found, which is extremely important, and how to launch a game in 2022. I've put here a screenshot. This is a H1 2021 report taken from Apple. It's showing the cumulative downloads of some of the games. And you can see, for example, Phone Case and Bridge Race. These two games peaked 3-4 months and even longer after they first initially were launched. What does it mean for you as a studio, and what does it mean for 2022? How do we see hyper-casual game launch in the future? We know today that hyper-casual games are games that can be sustained for a longer period of time. We've seen in the past that hyper-casual games peak very quickly and die very quickly, but this is not the case now. We see in these exact examples that once you launch a game, this is only the beginning. Obviously, you need to prototype. You need to pass the CPI. You have tons of work that needs to be done once you launch the game, but this is only the first stage. Now that you've launched it, this is where the real effort begins, because you have something that has potential, and you know that this game can be sustained for a long period of time. How does it work for you as a studio, and what do you need from your publisher in order to launch your game similar to what we see here in the graph? You have to have a team that will work together with you to continuously A/B test features, add content, and continue to update your game, because we see that if you do that and you have a team together with the studio that continue to work with you and provide you with transparency on how the game is performing, create a roadmap with scope, what will be the next A/B test, what will be the next version, how can you improve the game even further. Of course, this is just a game. On the other side, you have the marketing team that needs to continuously create market efforts towards lowering CPI and improving the marketability of the game during the launch and continuously after. And these two combined together, when you work on a game together with your publisher and the team that works with you to continuously improve the game, create new creatives, improve the marketability of the game, collaborate together, this is the only way to consistently improve the game and peak it even months after you've launched it. And this is something that we're going to see more in 2022, and I believe that this is something that we're actually going to see for even longer after this year ends. One more thing that we see and is important, CrazyLabs launched the Publishing for All initiative in this year. And what does the Publishing for All, the PFA program, works for you as a studio? There are many games that test and meet some of the KPIs, but at some point they failed. They didn't meet exactly all the KPIs needed in order to successfully launch a game with the publisher. Why? Because maybe the CPI increased. Maybe the game is not as profitable as needed in order to get it to the top charts. But these games can still be profitable. What does it mean? That for you as a studio, you can generate a steady revenue stream. But for the publisher that is looking for a game that will generate millions and millions and will create 100 million downloads is not something that is relevant. But for you, it's extremely relevant. Your game can still create profit. With low efforts, you can still publish your game. It won't be transferred to CrazyLabs account. You will still have your game under your account, build your brand, continue to generate profit. It's probably not going to be a profit of a game that has 100 million downloads, but it can generate a steady revenue stream with low efforts. And for you as a studio, it can be a game changer. Imagine that you have a game that continuously generate a profit for you, and you'll be able to focus with your peace in mind that you have a steady revenue stream to prototype more games, and together with CrazyLabs and the publisher, you'll be able to continue to try and find the next prototype that will reach 100 million downloads. And again, if you didn't participate in this program, other publishers might drop the game and tell you, let's kill it, move to the next concept, because this is not a game that can be scaled. But of course, any game can still make a profit, but with a lower scale, and it can still generate a revenue stream for you. Now you'll have full control. It's similar to self-publish. We will invest all of the money for user acquisition. We will do all of the monetization, but you will have full control of the game to decide what you need to do. You want to invest more in creating more content, improve it, or you want to put it on low efforts, prototype other games that can generate 100 million downloads. And this is why the Publishing for All initiative is extremely important in 2022, and how this is important for you as a studio. Now, everything that we've discussed here and more is available with Crazy Hubs. Crazy Hubs are an initiative that is happening all around the world that helps studios that want to enter or learn more about the hyper-casual industry, get facilities, funding, and mentoring, and have an accelerator program to learn everything you need on hyper-casual, how to prototype, create a game, launch it successfully. And I urge you to go to CrazyLabs.com and find the next Crazy Hub, and perhaps this can fit you. I think this is it. Thank you, everyone, and I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was really, really inspiring and very informative. Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions from my side. I was listening to your presentation regarding Crazy Hubs. Do you look for potential partners in different cities, like let's say in Kiev? If there is a person in Kiev who would like to organize a Crazy Hub in here, are you ready to discuss this possibility?
So yes, we are very open to that, and I'll give you some tips that we are planning to expand even more Crazy Hubs, but this happens gradually. And yes, if anyone has an opportunity, feel free to ping us, and we'll be happy to talk about it.
Great, thank you. The next question is, should I really consider work with publisher as a developer, because I need to give some half of my money to publisher later? When should I do a self-publishing, and when should I go to a publisher? What do you think?
It's a good question, but I would answer that. So 50% of a million is bigger than 100% of 1,000? Obviously, yes. But if you have the skills and you have the money to invest and create a game that you can self-publish, why not? If you have the skills. But I work with CrazyLabs, I work at the publisher, and I know the efforts, technology, and investment that is needed in order to launch a game that can reach $100 million and can generate a lot of revenue. And I'm pretty sure that not a lot of people and not many companies have the technology behind that, the teams, and the investment, which is significant, that is needed in order to publish a game. So in my point of view, obviously, if you are able to get 100% of the revenue and you have the skills, the money, the technology, and everything, and the teams that you have in order to scale a game, no problem. I think it's a good idea. But in most cases, the studios need a publisher that built this technology. By the way, over years, this is not something that takes a small period of time. It takes years to continuously build technologies that enable you to improve your game and optimize the marketing, the user acquisition, the monetization, the launch, the testing process. It's a whole technology stack that it takes a very long period of time and a lot of money that is needed to do that. And of course, this helps you to launch your game better and create more revenues out of it.
Sounds amazing. Thank you. Why should I stick to CrazyLabs and not someone else? Where CrazyLabs is different?
It's a good question, and obviously there's a lot of publishers, and some of them are really good, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. But with CrazyLabs, we are also a game developer, and I think this is the most important thing here. We understand the other side, the studio that is a developer. We understand their needs. What are the efforts that needed in order to help them? And by the way, these are the reasons that, for example, we created the Publishing for All initiative. We understand that the studio side, we understand the developer, and a lower revenue stream might not be, a small revenue stream might not be relevant for CrazyLabs, but it is relevant for a small studio that can still make a profit out of it. And this is the reason that, for example, we've created that. The transparency on click dashboard. Obviously, as I said, you have to have the full data. And if you work with a partner that is not transparent with you, you don't have this data. I'll give you one example. When you test your game on CPI, if you're able to see all of the networks that you're testing on, you're able to see per creative what is the info, how does it perform. So if I upload a game for CPI test and I have 2 or 3 videos, one with fail, one without fail, one with pink color, one with blue color, which one performs better? How much spent, how much impressions each creative had? What was the CTR, the CVR, obviously the CPI, but everything that I've said here is available on the dashboard, obviously, and it's very important for you as a studio, for the studio that wants to launch a game successfully.
Thank you so much. A step back to CrazyLabs. You have offline places, right, in that locations?
We did, but currently all of them are online.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So how do you select your residents? Who can join?
Anyone can join. Anyone can apply. And the only thing that we're doing is, speaking to the potential studios to understand, how familiar are they with the industry. They don't have to be familiar, but we're looking to understand the potential of the studio. The hubs themselves are simply accelerators, and we need to have great people that want to be successful. And this is why this is also the reason that this is an offline hub. You have a physical place where you collaborate together and brainstorm around ideas and have sessions and mentors that work together with you to fully look at the whole process of the industry. Everything about hyper-casual, everything about prototyping, everything about launching, optimizing, the live ops, everything regarding that. And these are the teams that we're looking.
Sounds really great. Since you have a really strong expertise in working and accelerating teams, one of the hard questions for any creative team on how to be creative by schedule when you need to be creative, how to ideate? Do you teach guys on how to generate new ideas?
It's a good question. I'll tell you that it's not easy. If it was easy, we're probably going to launch thousands of games a month, but it's not. And the ideation process is the first thing that you need to do when you're approaching a new prototype. There's a lot of things that user studio can do. The first and most important thing is collaborate with the publishing manager. Have a weekly call or bi-weekly calls with the publishing manager and brainstorm around ideas. I do that a lot with studios, and it's hard for me sometimes to come up with a concept and idea alone. But when I speak to the studio, things pop up. They have their own take on that. I'm looking at different things, and when you do that together, it's easier to spark the process and brainstorm around new ideas. More than that, we're looking at the whole last month or the last few months, and we're looking at the trend report, and we're trying to pinpoint exactly, what to focus on now. Is it too late to enter this specific theme because we see that it's been consistent in the top themes for the past few months, or now it's the time to enter that, and we need to focus our concept around a specific theme. Everything with that, take into consideration previous concepts that you've tested. How good was the CPI? Maybe there was something there that can be taken and can be improved. And obviously, the first thing that you need to do is play all the hyper-casual games, play the top charts, because you'll be able to see what is trending and what is successful. And I always urge studios, to find a few games that they really like and maybe try and combine things together, create a concept that doesn't look like anything else, but it's combining things that already work, the theme or the controls or the mechanics. Find a twist to that and create a new prototype.
Really cool, really cool. Even now, you just sound like the person who really has this know-how and can bring a lot of tips to newbies. I really appreciate your time. You brought a lot of interesting things today. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us, and have a great day.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, everyone.
Good luck. Bye bye.